I'm fat, I'm bold, maybe even beautiful.
Hey all, thank you so much for watching the channel. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button right there. Hit the notifications button so you'll get notified anytime we have new interviews. And if you have any suggestions on videos that you'd like to see, just leave it in the comments below and I'll try to get to it. And if you like the video and you want to share it with your friends, please do that. Help us keep this thing going. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the interview. Bye. Cool. So welcome to the Famous When I'm Dead podcast, where we talk with successful artists on what they do to have success while they're still above ground.
Cool.
And
so you're going to teach me that?
No, that's why I'm talking to you. I want you to teach all of our viewers how you stay successful. I'm excited to talk to Kelly today. She's got awesome artwork, very consistent, like always coming out with new stuff, great style, just all around interesting chick. And so I'll introduce Kelly O'Brien, everybody. So yeah, what's up? Let's just have a conversation. How you doing?
Oh, right on. Good. How are you?
Yeah, good.
We started so suddenly, and I'm like, oh man.
So we can talk if you want. We can start off like you can just like talk about your journey. You know, I think that what you said when we talked a little bit yesterday was really interesting. So you don't have to start there. We can just talk about like your journey as an artist or.
Yeah, what do you want to know? Where to
Everything.
begin?
Just start from like the moment you came out of the womb, and then we can just go from there.
So I came out of the womb, and I broke my mom's tailbone.
Oh, is that true?
She was in pain. Yeah, she was in pain for like 3 months, and the doctors were just like, "That's normal. That's what having a baby's like."
Dang.
It's horrible. Yeah, so she didn't have a good time with me. So I'm the youngest, I think, for that reason.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that really normal? Because I've never heard of that before.
It's not normal. It's not normal. But I think she had a male doctor, and he you know, pregnant ladies and male doctors.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. And I grew up super religious in a super religious Southern Baptist household in Florida. It was a very interesting upbringing.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't even have to be super religious just by saying like you were brought up in Florida. That's kind of enough, right?
Yeah, I'm like, before I wouldn't even tell people where I was from when I was traveling around. I'd be like, oh, I'm from the U.S. Like, yeah, I live in California. I would never be like, yeah, I'm in Florida. It's a crazy place, but I'm really embracing it. I love Florida now. I used to not like it as much, but the longer I was away, the more I really love it now that I'm back. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
We have everything.
Yeah, but you know, I think that foreigners don't really like have the same concept of Florida that we do. Because anytime I talk to people in the Czech Republic and they're like, "Oh, I've been to the U.S." I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Yeah, I went to Florida." I'm like,
yeah.
No, that's not the U.S.
Yeah, Miami's like a whole nother state for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of like just a miniature Cuba, right?
Yeah, man, I loved it when I was there. My brother used to live there, so I would go visit him.
Do you speak Spanish?
I'm gonna say no, but I was in Mexico for like a couple months, so I tried my best. I got by somehow.
They speak like Cuban Spanish, or it's like a Cuban dialect of Spanish in Miami, or how does that work?
I don't know.
Oh.
We should have asked my friend Danielle. I just hung out with her. She's Cuban. She's from Miami.
Okay, cool. Did you watch
Yeah.
Narcos?
No.
Yeah, that's really good. That's like basically talks about how Miami was like built on the cocaine empire.
Oh yeah, she said her mom or her dad used to like. I don't want to say this wrong, but I think she mentioned it yesterday that he was like flying planes and they would drop like bags of cocaine off in the Everglades and people would pick it. Anyway, crazy stuff. And I was kind of half listening, and now I wish I paid attention.
Yeah. I have a friend actually from Medellin, like the town that Escobar was from, and some of the stories that he said are crazy. I mean, just the fact that like he said it was very black and white. Like you either were part of the drug trade or you were like the opposite, and there were like two different tribes. And it was kind of sad because he was saying like a lot of his high school friends died and got shot, and they just got wrapped up in that or became drug dealers or drug lords or whatever, and then they'd end up dying or getting arrested or whatever. So
Wow.
yeah, it kind of sucks to have your town defined like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said people would like always call him Escobar, like joking around with him, but for him it wasn't funny because I mean that's he had to grow up with that and deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah.
So
the world is not two ways, not black and white. So hopefully, how's his town now?
How's his what? His town? He said it's really
now.
Nice and safe now. So yeah, that's good news. He's back there, or he's back in Sao Paulo, I think, or he's somewhere back in South America. But actually, he was living here in Prague and teaching English for a while. Just the sweetest, nicest guy ever, So let's talk about your artist journey. So, like, where did you get started? You went to school.
SeaWorld.
Okay.
So I got a SeaWorld in Orlando. Yeah, it was my first job. I was 17. I was really freaked out. I had like horrible social skills. I still kind of do, but like I got hired, and the next day I'd go in and they gave me 4 hours of training, and then they put me to work. And the 4 hours of training was, this is how you sell mats and frames. It was 4 hours of like how to sell mats and frames. And then they just gave me a marquette and then had me go draw people. It was horrible. Yeah.
How was that first day? Like,
it was awful. I mean, it's Florida, so I'm like sweaty anyway, and I'm like sweaty the whole time. I'm like stuttering. My hand is shaking. But I sold a $40 frame with it, with my first drawing ever.
Wow.
Like a huge frame, because I was so good. It was 4 hours of training. I was like, blah blah blah. I like did the spiel, and she bought a $40 frame, and I feel horrible about it. Those two little girls, and they're like floating in space,
Yeah.
It was bad, and I went home.
But they liked it. They liked it, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
They always like it. It's terrible. I went home and I told my mom, every day I'd go home, Mom, they're gonna fire me. They're gonna fire me. I'm the worst artist. They're gonna fire me. Every day I was like, I'm gonna get fired. Every time I would see my boss, I would be like, oh, he's gonna fire me right now. I know it. But I didn't get fired, so here I am.
Yeah, that's
10 years later.
It's an interesting phenomenon. It's like, I guess it's just like shows the lack of training or the lack of education about like art and draftsmanship with like making 2D images amongst the general public.
Yeah,
I think it's a combination.
They can't tell the difference.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of that, and maybe that people are just kind of always searching for like their selves in some way. They're like trying to figure out who they are, and somehow like by making that image, they're like, oh, this is a representation of who I am. It like somehow makes it like tangible. But we're not tangible, like we're always changing from day to day. So it's like somehow it like gives it like gives you some control over that, or it gives you some tangible evidence of like that you exist in this world.
Wow, that's very deep.
Wow, I don't know where that came from.
Look at you, okay.
Maybe
I don't
that's
know.
even exacerbated by the fact that we are like so digital now. Like you're not even really a real person unless you have like an online identity. I don't know.
Oh no, it like cut out for like that whole thing. So
what I was saying was like maybe it also has to do with like the fact that nowadays like we have to have like a digital identity to even exist.
Mm-hmm.
So like without Facebook and without like all of these social media platforms, it's like, you know, you kind of don't exist, especially with a younger generation.
So that crappy caricature at SeaWorld is a way for them to exist.
Yeah,
in a way.
it is.
You're
responsible. You're responsible.
I don't know if it was that. I think. I mean, looking back on myself, I think they could tell I was young and freaked out, and I didn't get my first reject for like 2 years because I was so on top of it. I was so like, do you like it? Like, what can I do? You know. And I remember my first reject like so vividly, but yeah, I just remember this one woman. I drew her daughter, and after I rang them up and she got a $40 break, she passed me on the back and she goes, "Honey, you did a good job. Okay, you did a good job." It's like, oh, you poor thing, you know, like doing your best. And I felt horrible. I was like, oh man, I'm the worst artist in the world.
But that brings up a question, right? It's like, I'll ask you the question because I already know my answer, but like, is it better to just throw somebody into it and let them like get through that fear and like go ahead and start making the bad drawings? Or is it better to like give them more training so maybe they make less bad drawings, or maybe like they're more confident?
Ooh, this is tough because I've seen both. So I got trained, I got thrown in there, and when I worked in Japan, they make them take this rigorous like caricature course for like 2 months, where they draw like hundreds of people a week. But the only problem with that is you're getting trained by the same teacher, so you're getting this style. You don't even know you're getting influenced so much by the style.
Yeah.
So one big critique people have about those artists is that they're all kind of drawing similarly, and then they have to work really hard to break that and figure out what makes them unique and what their creative mind is taking them. Man, that's tough. I think people should just go into it and struggle and drown a little bit. But those customers, I think you should do it for tips at first or something, you know, and maybe get training, but after you find your voice a little bit.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, that's, I just noticed my dog barking, so I might have to cut that out, just so you know. But that's, definitely, this is...
Buddy.
Django, just stop barking. Yeah, he's got those big ears and he can hear everything. But, yeah, that's the way I did it. I worked for tips.
Aw, hey, buddy.
Say hi.
Hi, dude. Very cute. Wow. I love him. I had so much fun drawing him.
He's,
I think your drawing was my favorite one to work on.
Yeah? Cool.
Because of the dog and the thing.
I'm here in the room. I'm listening. I'm just trying
You're good. I really like your Joe Exotic on your board, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
He looks like E.T. with a wig.
You know what I'm thinking of doing is that I'm thinking of doing him like a full-on E.T. because that's what everyone says. And actually, someone said they're like they said that like when they were watching the show with their girlfriend, they said Joe Exotic looked like E.T. Yes. So when they saw my painting, they're like, "Oh, he's E.T." But that's totally wasn't my intention. It just happened like that. So
yeah.
Yeah.
He does.
I'm gonna probably do that painting like a little bit more rendered and like structured and like do full ET with them. So,
Yeah.
so we were talking about jumping in or getting trained. I think that it's good to. I agree with you in that the style has to come from your own barking.
I work for a company in Santa Cruz, and they do some training, but I think that the training is a little bit more breathable. Like, I don't know, it's not like they're drawing over their pictures with like a red marker saying you did this wrong.
How loud is that barking right now?
It's not bad for me. I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a lot of construction going on outside for me. There's like a chainsaw going. If you can hear that a little bit.
No, and I think
okay.
I think I have him in the other room now, so his barking won't get bad until Kate gets home, and then I'll have to cut that part out because he'll freak out. So yeah, I think that some training is good. Mainly like how to do lines and just some basic techniques. But
Yeah.
I think that you're right about the 2-month thing. I think that's a bit much because it's really hard to break out of that style later on. But man, the stuff that I was doing like when I first started was so bad. Like I mean the heads were okay. Like I was getting likeness, and there were some that I look back on that I still laugh at that were funny. But like some of the hands that I was drawing and the necks and stuff, it was so bad.
Dude, I have this hand screenshotted from a fair I did like 2 years ago, like pretty recent. It's the worst hand ever, and I just have a screenshot of it, and maybe you could share it like in my thing, because I just was, you're at the fair, you're going as fast as you can. It was horrible. It was, yeah, but I like to have that and like send it when someone gives me a compliment, like, oh, your art's so good, and then I send them the hand, like, come on, dude. Like we're all, you're only seeing like 1% of my art, like 99% is like total trash, but I just don't share it. And I hope every artist listening can relate, because like you're gonna draw a lot of trash, and you're gonna always draw trash.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's fun.
In Tom's book, he talks about that. Like, I think he said like the first 500 drawings are going to be bad, so just go ahead and like get them out of the way.
Yeah. 500. I would say more like 5,000 plus.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I think around 500 you start to kind of like catch on. Like you start to learn like what you definitely shouldn't do, and then at least at that point it's like this has some kind of direction,
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's how I did it. I started for tips just at a farmer's market, and then I like slowly moved closer and closer to the Old Town Square in the center, and then even then, they were not that good. And actually, I think my style got better when I switched to marker. And then I contacted Yanni because I wanted to go do that program with her. And she told me, like, she looked at some of my work and she's like, your line work needs to get better before you can come and do it. So I made like an effort to do that. And actually, Chance McGee really helped me with my line work big time. Like, his lines are just like nice, real nice. Yeah. Nice. So. And it's because of his training. That's why I think that like the training for like basic stuff is really important, because he said like for 2 weeks they only just let him draw like straight lines and like circles and stuff. So.
Dang. Yeah, I wonder what my characters would have been like if I had more training. But I mean, my coworkers really helped me out. I feel like they are my trainers, my coworkers.
Who were you working with at that time?
Sean Evans was like the big person that influenced me when I started out. He taught me how to color.
Doesn't he do like the zombie, like, or he's got his Instagram is like Sean Evans Hates You or something?
No, that's Sean Gardner.
Ah, okay.
Sean Evans, he's another Florida artist. He started around the same time I did. Yeah.
Is he still drawing?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, he's really good.
Nice. So you started... Sorry, I need to close these distractions. Here we go. So that's how you started, and you went to art school, though, right? So let's talk about art school.
Art school. I went to a big public university and studied art at University of Florida. So maybe Floridians know the school, but maybe no one else does. But yeah, it was good. It was very fine art focused, lots of like charcoal, but it was good because I got a good like education for like structure and color but any sort of stylized stuff I drew was definitely looked down upon, and I still am like connected with some of my professors on social media, and I know that they're like, oh, they're probably just always shaking their head like every post. They're probably always like, cartoons, come on.
They're like,
I love cartoons.
We lost her. We lost her in the world of cartoons.
She was so promising, but
you had a lot of potential.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they're feeling, but I wish I had more digital and design classes, but it was all like figure drawing 5 with,
Did they give you training for like what you were going to do when you left? Like what was the education like around that?
Oh man. I remember them forcing us to make a website, and that's all. Yeah, I only know 2 of the people that I graduated with that are in the fine art world that are like doing it as a thing. Mm-hmm. But everyone else isn't doing art for a living, or they're only doing it for themselves, which is still, that's still beautiful. You always have art, even if your moneymaker is something else.
So yeah, that's the problem, I think, with like one of the problems with art school is that like the people are teachers, depending on the art school, but like most schools, well, I don't know, I can't say that because I don't know the numbers, but a lot of schools, like it's just they're just teachers, like they got into art and they didn't really like go the direction of being a professional artist, so they became teachers, and then they're like, yeah, that's what you need a website, that'll be like your solution to all your problems.
A lot of them were professional artists, but they exist in like the fine art world of like applying for galleries and having a show and speaking very, I don't know, I remember a lot of critiques where I felt like, wow, this is all so stupid. They're just, here, let me throw out this big word so you think my art is, better than what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm very grateful, and it was free, so go Florida. Florida's great. If you're above average, they're like, here, because I feel like our education system needs a lot of work, so they kind of throw a lot of scholarships at you if you do, X, Y, and Z.
Wow. Okay, that's awesome. I didn't know.
Yeah, when I was in high school, they let me take college classes for free, and they paid for my books, and I got my AA when I was in like 12th grade. It was rad.
Wow, cool.
Yeah. So Florida has that stuff available to kids here.
I always find it interesting, people that like started off in caricature and then they're like almost 30. I haven't met anybody that's like over 30, I think, that like started off like their first job as caricature and they're still caricature artists, but I'm sure they're out there. But like Kirby I think is like in his mid 20s. And he said when he was like 15. And so that's always interesting to me, like that your whole working life was like caricature artist.
Yeah,
that's been for you too.
It really burned me out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got so burned out. Like the word caricature, I was like, oh god, like I can't do it anymore.
So
I hate it.
So let's talk about that. Like, so you worked in Florida, and then you traveled around. You did you get burnt out after the traveling in Japan and Korea?
Well, I feel like I'm trying to think when I started feeling burnt out. It was definitely the fair environment that got me, for sure. Because, so I grew up in Florida, Southern Baptist. We didn't really travel. You know, I hadn't been outside of the country. I just wanted to, and then I just had this like weird thing after I graduated, because I originally went to school for art education. And I did an internship at a elementary school, and the elementary school, it's in town, and it's awesome. It's an awesome elementary school, and I hated it. And I was like, oh, if I hate this, and these are really rad kids, if I'm not feeling this, you know, this isn't for me. So I graduated, and I was working at Fun Spot in Kissimmee in a shack by myself, and I was working at SeaWorld. So I had 2 jobs, and I was like doing all this drawing, and I was like, crap, what do I do? And Rob Hume had like put something like, oh, going on a road trip after ISCA or something. And I like just was like, I want to go. And it like accidentally sent like mid thought. And I was like, oh shit. Like I didn't mean to send that. And he was like, oh yeah, you can come. Like, come on the road trip. And I was like, whoa, like this, what an opportunity. I can, you know, I've never been to the West Coast before. So I like asked my boss, like, can I get some time off to do this thing? And he was like, no, like, you know, like you're stabbing me in the back, essentially. He actually said those words.
Oh my
gosh. So I put in my 2 weeks. I was like, I'm done. The shack was kind of horrible anyway. So I never even met my boss who I worked with at the shack. I don't even know where that money went. Anyway. So
Is that the name of the place, the shack, the Caricature Shack?
I don't remember it's like his name. I don't want to put his name out there, but it was like, you know, blank's caricatures, but it was in a shack, like a yellow shack. It was very bizarre.
Was it it was in a fairgrounds?
It was in a Fun Spot, it has like bumper cars, and it's, yeah.
I see.
Is a lot of weirdos, like it's in Kissimmee, so it's not like the Orlando crowd, it's more of like the Florida crowd. So there's a lot of weird people. Like I had a lot of swingers ask me to, it was just like, and I'm just like 19, like, what's happening? So I quit both of those jobs and I went to ISCA in 2014 in Reno.
Cool.
And it just blew my mind, like all these just seeing the Japanese artists working so hard, I was just like stars in my eyes, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So I tried to talk to everyone, you know. I met Yanni, and I was like, Yanni, I want to work in Korea. I want to work for you, you know? And she said, come on, you know, bring it on, let's go. She probably didn't think I was serious, and I kept up with it, and then I did my first fair, and then I went to Korea, and I was there for like 8 months.
Whoa.
Yeah. And, man, I didn't save any money. They just had their first like pandemic. They had Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, MERS. I don't know if you remember that. So everything was shut down. We only worked on commission. Yanni was very kind. She helped me one of the months with like rent and stuff. So I like barely had any money. And then after that, I traveled around by myself, like backpacking for like 4 months in Asia.
Did you go to Jeju?
Yeah, I went to Jeju.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I backpacked, and that just opened up my whole world, because I had been living in a little bubble, you know, for so long, and and I got so hungry for traveling, but I was so broke, and caricature was my way to travel and do everything I wanted to do, and also like work with really inspiring artists. So I just started doing that, but I think it was after I got back from Korea, before I went to Japan, where I was doing fairs, that I started feeling really burnt out. Drawing I was doing caricatures like full time, like 12 hours a day, like it was a lot.
Yeah, it's funny that you talk about like the amount of hours a day that you were doing it, because that kind of came up with the C. Ding interview. When I was asking him about like his practice, and you know, he says he basically paints for 12 hours a day. And then Joe Bloom had an interview, and I remember he said he like drew for 10 hours a day at the fair, and then he would come home and draw for like, 3 or 4 more hours.
Yeah.
And that's like, it's crazy. It's a crazy amount of time and energy to put into something. And for people to look at the work and be like, oh yeah, it's just a cartoon. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I
like...
never had an ego with caricatures. I still don't. I feel, this is horrible because I'm a caricature artist and I owe my whole life to caricature, and everywhere I've been is because of caricature. All my skills and what I've stolen from other artists, and it's all because of caricature. But I almost feel the same way. Like it's I don't even want to say it. It's horrible.
Say it. Say it loud.
It's a cheap trick. No.
Oh no! Oh, you got
the
me.
McDonald's of the art community. No, I'm just kidding. No,
How dare you?
Once caricature became...
I'm cutting that out. I can't put it in.
Okay, you can.
Son of a bitch.
I'm horrible. I know.
You let the secret out.
It's horrible. But there's, Caricature Japan makes it like fine art. What they do, they make it fine art. Ooh, that's message. Yeah. So there's ways you can do it, but I was relying on caricature for everything, and that's how I got my money. So once I became, resentful, and I had a lot of bad times at the fair with some companies, and I think, I don't even know if it was drawing people or if it was my environment and my boss, and some coworkers that made it so bad for me. And then I started getting a lot of like back pain. I had horrible back pain. Like it was so bad. When I was in Japan, I went by myself to the hospital on Christmas because I got to the point where I was like, I've torn my ACL. I've like broken my foot in 7 places. I never cried. I was just like, I have a high pain tolerance, and I was crying at night because my back was like, you had no relief, So I went to the hospital.
Where do you think that was coming from? Sorry, go ahead. I'll let you finish. I have a question.
I have like a crazy curved back. I have like really bad scoliosis. So it was kind of like already pre-existing, and then drawing on a small, easel made for someone like a foot shorter than me kind of exasperated it. And I'm drawing 12 hours a day sitting. So, I started associating caricature with like pain too. So I was like really like, I think that really got me like super burnout.
Do you think that is it possible that the burnout may have been like exacerbating that pain?
Yeah, probably. Because I was so tense,
Yeah, I mean, because there's definitely, like, there's this Dr. John Sarno, and he wrote a book called The Mind-Body Connection, and his life work is all about, like, psychosomatic stuff and how, like, the emotional things can get caught up in different parts of the body. And, yeah, I mean, it targets, like, the weak... It targets like the weak parts of the body. So if you already have scoliosis, well, then it like usually goes into that area because it's like an easier kind of target.
Yeah. Last November, I did this yoga teacher training in Mexico, and they had us like lay on this like strip and like release our back, and I feel like I released so much like like baggage from just like stretching out my body and like starting to move it in ways I had never moved it before. And
wow.
We would do yoga for like hours every day, and I wasn't sitting down and drawing. I was like drawing on the beach. I was drawing in beautiful places, and I feel no pain today. Sometimes I'll get pain if I'm like sitting a long time, but it is like night and day from what I was going through before. So I like really recommend yoga. I really recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, I had experience with that with like, I had this really extreme pain in my trap, like right in my neck, like right below my neck and on my back. And it was intense. Like I had never felt that intensity. Like I could hardly move my neck at all. And then my friend recommended that book, and I started reading through the book. And as I was reading through, like the pain disappeared, And that's kind of what the book was talking about. And then it showed up like on the other side, like the same intensity on the other side, and literally the next chapter was like it can move sides. Like that's what the next chapter said. And I'm like, oh man, this guy's onto something, you know. So I started looking into like psychosomatic stuff at that point, and yeah, I mean, I'm a believer in it just based on my own experience, you know. There's a lot of Eastern medicine and a lot of people that are like going against the official narrative of the pharmaceutical industry and the medical industry, are not going against it, but just saying like we're missing part of it. Like this isn't just a mechanical body; it's an emotional body as well. So. Yeah, and then the pain, after I got through the book, the pain went away. The interesting thing about it was it was like, that's the thing about his particular theory, is that like in most cases, people don't even really have to address the emotional issue directly unless it's like really extreme. They just have to be willing to accept that maybe the pain might be coming from emotions that are caught in the body somewhere that haven't been dealt with. Just the idea... Just being able to accept that possibility, like, can release a lot of that pain. So
yeah, I did like, I think it's called Reiki or something when I was in Mexico, and the lady was like, because I told her I have pain here, you know, and she was like, oh, what's your relationship like with your dad? And I was like, what? She's like, when did it start? And I was like, oh, like when I was in middle school, and I didn't have a good relationship with my dad when I was in middle school, and I think that's when my back started like curving and like doing all this weird stuff. But very interesting. Yeah, she like hit everything, and she's like, oh, what's your, you know, are you going through some sort of heartbreak? That's what this pain is about. And like, you know,
wow.
Yeah, it was very, I was like, ooh, she's like a magician or something.
Was she pretty spot on with her questions?
Yeah, she was like weirdly spot on. I was like, and she doesn't know me, so I was like, and I didn't change my face. I was just like, yeah.
Okay, so
and then finally, she recommended. She was like, you need to go on a long walk on the beach by yourself and dig a little hole, and you need to yell in it. And I was like, okay. So I did that. I dig a little hole and yell in the hole.
And then you buried the hole back up?
I didn't know. I just left it open. I didn't know. It didn't give me any other instructions after that, so I just left the hole open.
Did you spit in the hole?
No, I just went like, wow.
Oh, yeah? Did it help?
Like a crazy lady. Yeah, it felt good. I don't know. It's always nice to like yell sometimes.
Yeah,
you gotta get it out, right? Or sing, do something with your voice.
I just got a funny image of you like on your hands and knees like screaming in this hole.
And you have to imagine like this is a nude beach. Like the town I did my yoga teacher training in is like a nude beach town. Yeah. So it's like a bunch of like short brown people, and then me like giant as hell, like yelling in this little hole, like in like paradise. Like it was paradise.
That's hilarious. I'm waiting now. I'll wait for the artwork around that. I want to see the picture of that.
Right.
Yeah, the thing about like releasing that kind of energy is interesting because animals do that. Like if like for example, when they tranquilize polar bears or really any large animal, like when it comes out of that experience of being tranquilized and dropped, they have like a small seizure, but it's not really a seizure. It's like a way that they release trauma. Mm-hmm. And so I was thinking about that today because my dog got in like a little spat with another dog, and then after the other dog went away, like he shook his body, and he did like some shaking stuff and like shook his head around and stuff, and he kind of shook it off, you know. And yeah, I mean, it's like I don't think that we do that as people enough. Like I think exercise is good for that.
We bottle everything in.
Yeah, we got to dance
it's horrible.
more. This is a good segue into, do you want to show us some stretches, some exercises for artists?
We got to dance. Sure. Oh, shoot. I wish I had some stuff prepared. Show some stretches for artists. Are they in their chair or are they on the ground? Or
maybe just grab a can and yell into the can and then people can do like that. Okay, well, let's start, like, let's say that you're in your chair, okay?
Oh man!
I'll show you one. I'll start with one that I do. So I just do the hand thing. So I put my hand all the way out, and then I pull my fingers back.
Oh, I love it.
Breathe into that, I mean. Then I do the other way.
Mm-hmm.
I usually count to like 15 or 20 with those. Yeah, so that like stretches the, I don't know,
fascia.
what are these extenders or?
The tendons.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love it. You can do that too.
This is a good one too. Just like turn the hands down and like ball the fist up the other way.
Ooh, I like this one.
Any direction is good for that.
I love that. Doing this and
okay,
making your...
Like that?
Yeah. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, it's all
nice.
nice.
Do you feel that here?
It all feels good. What?
I was like, oh, do you feel it? Yeah. I did rock climbing for a little bit when I lived in Seoul, and they would always tell me to do that to release your forearm muscles.
Okay, what's next?
I just think standing up or even in your chair and just like trying to stretch as much as you can to the ceiling, and then and using your hand to kind of pull. Oh, so nice.
There's another one too that's it's like you lean against a wall,
mm-hmm.
and you like make your body kind of like this, and you put your fingers like that, and you basically like push yourself back like
this. Yeah, like
this.
a little Spider-Man move.
Yeah, like little Spider-Man push-ups,
nice.
but against the wall. A lot of the exercises don't really seem like they would help. Like you can't really notice a huge difference right away, but they really do like loosen things up.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important to like make that a really like take it seriously and make that a part of your daily routine if you're working or as an artist, to set a timer.
Anyone just waking up, because your body's been not moving for 6 hours or something. You gotta like be gentle and wake up a little bit and move. I'm trying to get my mom and my dad to do that in the morning now.
There's another one too where you like lay on your back and you just very gently like eliminate the arch in your back to the ground. So you lay on the ground and you push that right into the ground and you like breathe into that, and you do that like 10 or 15 times. Because as sitting down, we really are affecting our low back.
Yeah. In the morning I'll lay down with my knees bent and I'll just do this with my arms towards the floor and up, and it feels so good for your shoulders on the ground. So it's like getting like a massage from the earth.
Yeah, the one where you lay on your back on like a hard ground and like cradle your knees and roll around like that and try to like get rid of that low back arch. That's a good one too. That feels really good. That's like a massage too.
We need to make some video. Yoga for artists in the morning or something.
We'll do that. We're gonna make a separate video, so yeah, that'll come up. I want to show you one if I can. I don't know. This chair is like maybe not the best chair for it, but I'm gonna tilt it down, so it's kind of like. Move this back. Okay. So you like cross your. I need to lower this. Okay. So you cross your leg like that. I think I'm remembering this right. I'm not totally sure.
I love this.
Yeah. So you cross your legs just like you would normally cross, with your ankle right above your knee. And then you put your chest down to your leg, and then you just slowly like allow your weight.
Oh, this is nice for the chair.
Yeah.
This is great.
I gotta get some.
We had this guy come in like the last week of our yoga training to do chair yoga.
Oh yeah.
For us, and like the night before, it's so funny. I've been so unself-confident like most of my life, and during the yoga treatment, I was finally like, okay, like I'm feeling myself, like let's go, you know. And I remember very clearly because in that moment I slipped and I fell, like as I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh yeah, you look great. And I like go out of the bathroom and I slip and I fell so hard. Like the universe was like, nah, you need to check your ego, like humble yourself. And I messed up my knee for like a week. It like just had this huge lump, and I like fell like really awkwardly because I was holding my iPad and I didn't want it to break. And I like busted my arm open, and it had like this weird red string hanging out of it, and like I didn't get to do the chair yoga.
You had a weird red string hanging out of what?
Yeah, like my elbow. You can kind of still see
like. So you really busted it open.
Yeah, busted like. And you could see like all this weird stuff, and there was like this string, and it was. Ouch. It was funny. It's so funny, like when your ego gets big, you like stub your toe or something happens. Yeah. That always happens to me. As soon as I am feeling like I'm hot shit, I'll hurt myself. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I'll go back to I gotta be humble.
So we'll do something with that. That would be really helpful for people, I think. Yeah. There was something else I wanted to. Oh yeah. So like that last one, it stretches like this part of your butt right there. Right there.
Right on.
And that gets like really tight, you know, like. Yeah. That's one area.
It's important to take care of your hips, definitely.
Yeah. So is there a warm-up exercise that you do? Like, how do you go about that? Like, if you have a 10-hour day or something, do you just do every hour or get up after when you feel it or what?
Right. If it's live caricature, I mean, I've made fun of this a couple times, but I'll rig my French easel and I'll put that thing all the way up and I'll stand and draw. Oh. And yeah, and Tony Sabota laughed at me a lot. He was like, this is bizarre. I'll just have my easel really big because our bodies are not made to sit for 10 hours. We should not do that. We should stand up. Maybe I'll create a movement of caricaturists who start to stand. And also you get less rejects. Because I remember I drew a lady, I was standing up and I showed her, and you're kind of like looking down on them. And she was like, I don't think I like it. And I like looked at her and I was like, and she was like, okay, I'm gonna buy it,
You look down on her, you're like,
yeah, just because you're kind of like more intimidating in a way.
And but, also because you're 7 foot tall.
Yeah, I'm huge, but like the power imbalance of like me standing up like over the, like I wish I was a little bit shorter. It would be a little bit more natural, but yeah, if you can rig your easel and stand up while you work, or take breaks and stand up and do a little stretch,
Yeah, I think even like 45 minutes is like more than 45 minutes. I think sitting down is too much, and that's usually when I am able to actually stay focused and on task at home. I usually set a timer for 45 minutes, and like no matter what, like I get up. Sometimes I'll put on a song and I'll dance a little bit, or I'll do some push-ups or like something to move my body a little bit. Even if it's only for like 5 or 10 minutes. But man, I've been really feeling it a lot lately because of the quarantine. It's like, I'm just really, I can feel it in my body. Like my body is feeling old,
I feel that. Yeah, I think a lot of people are feeling the same way.
Yeah.
But I live right next to this awesome trail. Like amazing, and I've been seeing I'm so inspired every time I go there. There's people like walking and exercising and running and getting out there, and I see more people every day, and I'm like, yes, you go, and you can see they're struggling. They've been in their house for like 2 months,
yeah,
and I'm always like, yes, like you can do it.
You got pom poms. You're like,
yes, I'm that weird cheerleader mom that's like. They run by me and I'm like, nice.
You're like, good job, sweetie.
Yeah, you should see my porch. I'm always on my porch, and if someone goes by, I'm like, you can do it. Like,
you're like, yeah.
I feel like my mom. Yeah, good job.
Come get some lemonade, honey. I have some lemonade for you here. Cool.
That would be my mom.
So let's get into The Dark Knight. The dark night of the
Yes.
soul. So let's talk about that.
The dark night of my soul or everyone's soul?
I think
Our
you.
collective soul.
Yeah, I
My
think
burnout,
it's an archetype, right? Like everyone kind of goes through that at some point in their life.
Yeah.
And it's important. It's an important like ego destruction stage of life that I think everyone needs to go through at some point.
Yes, and I'm still going through it for sure. Yeah, I feel like the title of this thing is so funny for me because I'm like, oh man, I spaz out sometimes. I get really stressed out. So it's a journey for everyone. I mean, I don't have the answers. I can just only share like my experience and what's worked for me. But yeah, last year I just felt horrible about myself. I was so heartbroken. I felt there's no point in any of it. What am I doing? I was so lost. I had no idea what I was doing with my life because I spent, all these years in the caricature community and I don't even like it here. I don't feel connected to these people. A lot of the people, there's like 2 companies that I'm never going to work for again because of who they hire. And they don't even know that because I didn't speak up. So I was feeling really guilty about that as well, because these situations happen. And since I was young, I was taught, you just don't say anything bad about anyone. You just keep it to yourself. So I had kept so much to myself and just like, man, I was feeling negative in every aspect of my life.
So,
like,
so if you don't have nothing to say, nothing nice to say, don't say it at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I had that too growing up, yeah.
Exactly. But, the older I get, the more, I don't care. I always said the next person that, is doing something wrong, I'm going to put them on blast 100%. So, and I didn't put a lot of these weird guys on blast in the caricature community in the past, but next one, you're going to be put on blast.
So do you want to talk about that, or do you want to talk about like what you went through as far as like, I mean, if you want to talk about that, about the problems in the industry, which is really like it's like a societal problem, really.
Yes, it's more than just our industry. It's the whole world, and it's not just about men and women. It's what's going on right now, black and white, and we just have to, if everyone together just tried a little bit better and spoke up when they see something wrong and try to do just a little bit more than what we're doing, we're going to see an awesome change. And I think, there's horrible stuff going on right now, but I think we're going to get through it and we're going to come out on top. Things are going to change. So I'm excited about that. So what was your question? I'm sorry.
Well, I do want to come back to that, like the issue with like sexism in the workplace, because I know that's important to you, and I do want to come back if you want to talk about what's going on right now with the racial issue, really the human issue that's going on right now. We can come back to that, but I do want to kind of at least explore the point a little bit about like your topic, which was like staying calm in the storm, because the storm is really just life, like
Yeah.
it's there's so many, it's so easy to get pulled in by the gravity of emotions, particularly when the emotions were kind of programmed into us, like they're not something that we chose, they're just like very deep in our being, or the way we were raised, or whatever traumas happened to us as we were growing up. So yeah, I think that's probably good to talk about, about how you went through that, because you had some interesting narrative about that. I think you said Mexico was involved. You went to Mexico and
Yeah. Like the most recent weird thing I had with a male caricature artist was last summer. and it
Well,
was
look,
it was horrible.
before you go into that,
Yeah.
let me ask you: is that like was that really like the main part of your storm? Let's say, like you were getting
Oh
burnt out on
man,
caricature, and then also you didn't feel safe in the companies that you were working with. Is
the feeling not safe in the companies I was working with was years ago.
uh-huh.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it was like a culmination of everything over the course of half of last year. Like it wasn't like one singular event. It was like it just felt like I was just being worn down
Mm-hmm.
to the point where I just like there was nothing else I could do except let go. And that was the best thing I could do.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing you can do is just say like, I accept this,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
And that's the hardest thing. I mean, in my experience, the hardest thing, one of the problems I had growing up in high school was, well, actually, like more middle school, was I was a fat little guy. You know, I was a chubby little dude. And I got picked on for that, and I had really low self-esteem, and I was just having like a hard time in adolescence. And the hardest thing for me was not the fights that I was getting into. It was like being made fun of and like socially rejected. That was the hardest thing.
Aww.
And I think that's with anybody. I think that like, you know, when they do this survey about like stage fright, and people say that they're more afraid of the stage than they are of death. And I think that goes back, if you think back to like tribal times, like if you were in a tribe and you went out hunting and you got killed hunting, well then at least like they brought you back and the tribe like mourned you and you knew that like you died for a purpose or something. But if the tribe rejects you, then not only are you going to die because you don't have the protection of the tribe, but when you die, like they're not going to remember you or care about you. So I think that that's this really deep kind of instinctual social need that we have as human beings to like be accepted.
Yeah.
And so I can see why that like I can see why like when you know people were harassing you or not treating you with respect, like how that would feel, that would be definitely
Yeah.
part of that.
You feel very alone. And even the first person I reached out to, like, hey, this happened to me by this artist. He said, oh, no, him? That didn't happen. And this was my friend. And I realized at that moment, I used to think, oh, this guy's an awesome guy. He's an awesome guy. And I used to think they're awesome because they don't do bad things. You're only a good person when you do good things. And if you're, you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, yeah, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
you're not a good person because you're not doing bad things. We all got, you know, it just changed I felt so alone, but when I realized I have everything I need within me, everything I need starts with me. You know, I'm powerful. I have what it takes. And even if I feel like I don't have support, I'm connected with the world, and I'm connected with, there's so many awesome people in the universe, you know, obviously, but we're all connected. And that's what I realized last year is like, I used to feel so disassociated, or just like, I felt like an alien. Sometimes I still feel like an alien. Like I'm so separate from people that I don't even feel human. But, you know, you have to realize that that's not true. That's something in your ears telling you that to bring you down. But we're all connected, and I'm so grateful for all the awesome people in my life, all the supportive people in my life. Like, gotta focus on them, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like going on.
No, that's great. It's great.
Over here and over there.
No. I agree with you. I have to disagree a little bit with like that you're only a good person if you do only good things. I don't know. Maybe I didn't hear you right.
Oh no, you're not a good person because you don't do bad things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you're not doing this doesn't make you good. Because you're not, that's not a pass. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I see.
For example, like what's going on right now. Oh, I'm not a racist. Therefore, I'm doing right. You know, you have to help people around you and you have to do your part. Just because you're not doing something you don't get a sticker for that.
Yeah.
And that goes for everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I used to praise people like, I used to think that all these people were so good and had the best intentions because they're not doing this stuff. And then when I see them in situations, I realize they're not going to speak up, you know, for their friends. They're not going to speak up for what's right. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point. It definitely sometimes, I think maybe more times than not, like maybe most of the time, it takes courage to have integrity in that moment, you know? Like, yeah, it just, there's been times where I didn't want to say anything and I said it anyway. And like, in my mind, I thought that like what was going to happen was different. Like in my mind, I had a different like vision of like the way it was going to go down. But I went ahead and did it, and then like people agreed, you know, like because the thing about like what's right and like the thing about integrity is that like it's built in. It's not like something that you need. How can I say it? It's like not like it's already there. Like people know, like when you speak from integrity, like it resonates. Like people unconsciously know that like that's right. Like that's the truth. And so, yeah, I think that's maybe all I have to add to that. And also about courage, like just a note about courage. Like, I don't know. I guess most people probably understand this, but it took me a while to get this point, which is that like I'm never going to get courage if I don't go through the fear. Like the fear is a requirement for me to get courage. Like I have to walk through that fear. That's the only way. You have to earn it. You know, it just doesn't come naturally usually. Or at least it didn't for me, you know. I wasn't really taught a lot of these kind of principles and stuff when I was growing up, so you know, I had to learn them as I go, you know. And I'm still learning how to practice them.
Same. I just sorry to bring it back to like weird like sexual stuff, but I just called my mom like last month to talk to her about something that I've kept silent about for so long. When I was in middle school, we went to like the movies, like at the church group, and this 19-year-old older guy that was like the youth leader assistant, like was like trying to grope me in the movie theater, like grabbing my leg, trying to touch me all weird, and to the point where I left the movie theater and I waited in the bathroom until the movie was done and we could go back. And I remember going home and I was crying, and I never told my mom, and I never said anything about this experience ever. And last month I called my mom and I told her about it because I know she remembers the guy, and she said, "I'm so sorry that happened," and that had happened to other girls, and I didn't know, and the church was silent about it, and we all just kind of just like. But she knew she didn't know that it had happened to me. So it was like, that's such a, we need to speak up. I think that's my takeaway. We need to let people know. Because maybe that would have saved another little girl from like this really uncomfortable, like bizarre guy. Anyway.
Yeah, there's that saying that you're only as sick as your secrets. And yeah, there's this also this kind of, I think that's where that whole like always be positive mentality to a certain extent can be harmful, because it's like you don't like, I can't speak for you, but like that particular kind of like mentality for me, which is really way more prevalent in America than it is in Europe, but which was like, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all, and always try to stay positive. And it almost like makes it not okay for when you're having a hard time to say like, I feel like shit. Like when someone says, "How are you doing?" Like I always said fine, or okay, oh yeah. I always tried to like focus on the positive, which in one way is good, but like now I feel more genuine living, and it only happened when I moved over here, where like I just like if I'm having a good day, I say I'm having a good day. But if I'm feeling anxiety or something, and someone asks me, I say I'm feeling really anxious right now. Like I'm
Yeah.
honest about it,
And that
and
helps. It starts a conversation because you're not the only one feeling that way. A lot of the times they're feeling that way too. And coming together and helping each other is. Sorry, there's so many like weird flies in this room.
oh, I thought you farted for a second. I thought you had one too.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I agree. Like the good vibes only thing. Like
yeah,
you can't always have good vibes. You need that's we're suffering with we're going through cycles but we're all in this together. We're all in this together for sure.
yeah, and also vulnerability is. This is something I personally struggle with. Like I always feel like I need to protect myself or protect my ego or protect my image or protect my intellect or whatever. So I that's kind of a defect of mine or kind of like a gauntlet that I have to go through and practice that I'm currently going through now. And I have a mentor, like a spiritual mentor here, and last time I met with him, he's like, you just need to practice being more vulnerable. Like he's like, maybe he gave me some suggestions, but like there's a lot of different ways to do that. But like the first way to do that is just like to be totally honest when I feel bad or like, allow myself to make mistakes and stuff. Because the thing about it is like it brings people closer together anyway, like because I mean, when we support each other and we know how we genuinely feel about each other, then we get closer,
Beautiful.
Oh, so
lovely.
beautiful. But
yes, I was really freaking out about this because I'm like, I always say the wrong thing. I like use the wrong word. I know I'm gonna sound like dumb as hell on here, and then I just like I gotta accept it. I think it's more exciting to see someone like stumble than it is to see them like walk down the runway like I know everything. But man, I'm learning stuff every day, every single day, and I hope if Kiko was watching that you should be on the podcast, girl.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear what you have to say, Kiko.
You heard it, Kiko. You got called out. Bring it up.
She's probably not even going to watch this. She's never going to. I'll send it to her and be like, support me. We'll see if she listens.
I'll just send you this one clip, and then she can just watch that one clip.
Yeah.
I do want to talk a little bit about that, the negative voice. I want to talk about the negative voice because it's on topic with like staying calm in the storm. And I want to talk about how you do that. I'm going to let you start because I have some stuff to share about that. But
oh, you start. I feel like you're on. If we're on this like spiritual realization journey, I feel like you're over here and I'm still like beginning.
No, you just have a different variety. You just have a different variety of experience. I'm no higher than you. Mm. Well, okay. Well, I'll start. For me, Vipassana meditation is the practice that I do, and the type of Vipassana I do is there's a sitting. It's half sitting, half walking, and there's two different branches of meditation. One of them is like tranquility meditation, where you focus on a sound or a mantra or an object or a candle or whatever, and then there's Vipassana, which is basically mindfulness meditation. And I really like the type that I learned. That we have a really great meditation center here, and the type that I learned was very pragmatic. Like when I went to the instructors, they didn't care about the details. They just like every time I came up with something, they would just ask me, "Did you name it?" Because it's about naming. It's like you're thinking, you say
categorizing.
Thinking. Okay. Planning. Okay. Feeling. Whatever, you name it 3 times. And so it didn't matter what kind of because I did it for 16 days. So there were points that were almost psychedelic. I had almost psychedelic experiences, almost like past life experiences, dreamlike states that I went into. And when I went to them, they were totally unimpressed. They were just like, "Did you name it?" They just kept asking me that. So just emphasizing that importance of being able to observe what's happening objectively for what it is and not get pulled into it. And that's really it for me. Like, in a nutshell, that's it. It's pretty simple. Like, that practice of Vipassana for me allows me to objectively view what's happening in my psyche, and it allows me to have a seat of consciousness behind that psyche. So I can watch the storm go by and not get pulled into it. Like, I can fall behind the storm and still observe it and let it move through me, but I don't get pulled into it and dragged away with it.
Mm-hmm. So. There's a, if you can, I want to share this piece of art with you that you can like put on, but it's like a guy walking, and this darkness comes up, and he's running away from it, and the darkness gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it overcomes him, and when he accepts it and walks with it, it becomes really small. And that's the drawing. So it's like,
I saw it. You sent me that drawing.
Oh, okay. I love it, and I keep going back to it, and it's so true. There's this darkness, and it's horrible, and the more you try to avoid it, the bigger it's going to get, and the more the universe is going to put it right in front of you, because it's trying to teach you a lesson. And when you accept it, and you're like, why is this happening? What is it trying to teach me? It becomes small. It becomes, you accept it, and you're with it.
Yeah,
I just love that. It's like a cartoon, but
I'll put that up. I'll put that up in this spot. Yeah, it is an interesting drawing. That's another thing my mentor said, actually, the last time I met with him. He was like, you gotta embrace your shadow, because we all have that like maniac killer like instinct inside, and we all have like these dark thoughts and these like crazy emotions, and like we all have that, but it's like, how much do we hide it? How much do people, and it's not to say that you should go out and start killing people or whatever, but it's like we have to like accept that part of ourselves if we want to be whole. Like, we have to accept, or it becomes like neurosis, we become neurotic.
Yeah. I like that practice of meditation too, because when I did that yoga thing, we did it every morning for like an hour for 30 days. And every hour for 30 days, I was struggling. It was horrible. For 30 days, it was terrible. I never got into it. And when I finally just realized you're not supposed to judge yourself. You're not supposed to like try to control it. You're just supposed to let it fly by, and you could categorize it too. But I just watch it, and I just watch the patterns because you're thinking in the same patterns, but once you crack the pattern, then you can like, oh, okay, interesting. But I like that meditation. I'm still new at meditation. I still struggle with it. I do a lot of guided ones. So it's so hard to do on your own.
I did the Waking Up app, the Sam Harris Waking Up app, and it was like what was that, 90 days, I think, actually. But I didn't continue with it. It was like a little too much thinking for me. I like the Vipassana because there's not, like I would have like an hour meditating, and then you would have a break, and then you would go back and do another hour, and then you'd have another 10-minute break or whatever. And at first I was doing a lot of writing, and then after like the third I lost you visual.
Oh, I'm still here. I just have to turn my stuff onto like low power mode.
Oh, you're running out.
This house is like real old, so like all the plugs are like so far away from you.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Am I back?
Oh, yeah. I got you. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So what I realized was that, anyway, after like the 5th day, or the 4th or 5th day, I noticed that the teachers were like really not interested in all of the stuff that I wrote down. And then they eventually brought it up. They're like, why do you think you're doing that? Like, why do you think you're doing all that writing? And I started to realize that, like, the change was happening inside me. Like I didn't need to write it down. Like it was, I was experiencing it anyway. And I also realized that like I was trying to control things by writing it down. And that's what we do. We try to control things by making a plan or writing it down or labeling it or like judging it somehow or there's so many different ways that we try to do that. And I suppose it's somehow therapeutic and it gives us a sense of control, but we don't have any. And I used to think, like the older I get and the more I meditate, the more I realize like how little control I have.
Yeah, yeah.
And especially with the meditation, because it was like, I used to think that like, when I went to the meditation, I had already matured enough to realize that I really don't have control over other people. And I only have like a possibility to control and direct my own life. And then when I did the meditation, I'm like, holy shit. Like, I don't even have control over my own mind. Like, my mind is insane. Like, when I watched it work, I'm like, this is insane. And I also realized in that meditation that I was addicted to thinking. There was a moment where I actually laughed out loud in the meditation because it came to me, like the realization came to me that I was searching for something to think about because it gave me some sense of control.
Yeah, wow. Cool.
So, yeah. Do you want to share anything about that?
No, I think that was great. I have to get going in a little bit. I'm taking this comic book class online, and I've got a live question and answer session.
Oh, cool. Well, let's...
my weekly thing, but I still have some time. I got like 10% phone battery left, too, so...
Oh, you're on your phone.
If there's anything else you want to...
All right, well, let's talk about artwork then. We didn't have any questions, but we have that artwork that came in. So I'll put that up on the screen, the one I sent you.
Oh, yeah. Who did that again? Abel?
Let me check who did that.
I know the subject. That's Haley, right? She's cool.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, what was the subject? It was staying creative at home.
Oh, but I thought he drew Haley. Haley likes.
What do you mean?
The chick he drew.
Oh, is that who? Okay, so it came in from Abel Ebo.
Mm-hmm.
I've never met that person, I don't think. So it's a drawing of Haley likes.
She's another caricature artist.
Oh, okay, cool.
She's really cool. I haven't met her in person, but I had like a late night Facebook Messenger conversation with her the other week. She's rad.
Oh, nice. I thought she had a question too. Let me see. No, I guess it was just the work that came in. Yeah, she just sent that work in. So, I don't know. Do you want to talk about that piece or do you want to give a critique or any tips or anything?
Oh, what? Why? But they sent it in for Alan, you know?
Yeah, but it was late. So I told her that we would look at it.
You get the second best. I think it's great. I love the white lines, the outlines.
Yeah.
It looks like Haley too. It's cute. I'm into it.
It is cute. I don't know if I've ever met her though. Does she have a tooth like that goes off to the side? She
definitely has some cute teeth on her. I'd say those are accurate.
I like the nose ring. It looks like they collaged the nose ring in there.
Oh man, I gotta maybe I can find it on my other device here. I sent it to my email now.
So yeah, Abel did not give me any Instagram or any shout out, but I'll shout out Abel Ebo. So Ebo, EYBO. So thanks for sending that in.
Yeah.
That was cool.
And thanks for sending it in late because now I feel I'm gonna pretend that you sent that in for me. me.
It is interesting. You know what though? It was for you because like look at it. It's like totally your thing, you know, like super colorful and nice shapes and
Cute as hell. I like the background texture too. That's bad.
I never go that wild with the colors. Like I don't know what it is. I guess
I'm not. Life is too short. Experiment.
So let's do like the wrap up stuff. Is there anything that you want to leave the audience with? Like your Instagram is comics. I'll put everything in the comments.
Cool.
You know, but is there something you want to shout out or something you want to plug?
I would just say, you know, if you're going through a tough time in your life and you're struggling and you're feeling stressed and feeling anxiety, just breathe into those feelings and reach out to people because people are feeling the same way as you know. That's it.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's cool. No, it's good. So make sure.
And,
okay,
and
go
I
ahead.
just started this like series online, and if they donate $25 to like their local bail fund, Campaign Zero, Black Vision Collective, any nonprofit, and if they donate at least $25, me or maybe another artist will draw a Black person that inspires them. And if they DM me that, and we've already raised like over $200, and I have my work cut out for me, and I just posted the first one like right before this started. So I would like to share that as well because I think that's important.
Okay, cool. So I'll put that in the show notes. And also people can check that out because this will come out on Monday, so it'll give you some time to get caught up on the ones you already have.
Oh man, I have a lot. I might reach out to some people like help.
So people can find that on your Instagram. They DM you on your Instagram. And how do you spell it? It's at
KOMAKES.
And we're gonna be coming out with an artist stretching video.
Yes.
I don't
That would
know
be great.
what we're going to name it yet, but we're going to come up with a funny name. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe down there.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if have you seen Midnight Gospel?
Yes.
What if we like did some animation for it? Like something, you know, not too crazy. Not that I'll do it.
You'll do the animation.
Yes.
Do you have any idea how long that's going to take you?
So much on my plate.
Yeah.
It took me forever to animate this little mushroom guy. Did you see my little mushroom guy?
Yeah, that's cool.
He lives and he dies.
Yeah, that's cool.
It took forever.
You did that in Procreate?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've been playing around with that tool a little bit. It's cool. Yeah, I got some stuff that I did with that, but it's all very scratchy. It's not as clean as what you did. So, yeah that's awesome.
That's fun.
Yeah, I was really inspired by the Last Dance, the Michael Jordan and Chicago Bulls documentary. So I did a one of Michael Jordan doing a dunk. I'll probably do another one too because he was just amazing individual. All right, so subscribe, hit the notification button, follow Kelly, and yeah.
Cool. This is cool what you're doing.
Yeah.
How exciting.
It was fun.
Congratulations.
It was definitely fun to talk to you. And we'll do it again soon.
Yeah, same. And this is all just so Kiko will get the courage. You know, I want to hear what she has to say for an hour and a half. I love listening to Kiko talk.
Yeah?
She's got some cool ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope I can draw it out of her. I hope I can...
Yeah. Oh, there's so many people that I want to hear, like, talk for, time.
I'm open to suggestions.
I have some people that I would, like, definitely be, what are they going to say about this, and that I'm very interested in.
Well, that's another thing that I'll say before we close is, like, for everyone who's listening, like, please... This is for you, so send in all of your questions and send in like artwork if you want artwork critiqued. You know, we want to engage with you and like so this is your...
Yeah, it'd be cool to see more artwork.
Yeah, definitely. So Yeah, and I always give people plenty of time to do it too. So it's like, I think people are just busy with whatever, but yeah.
Busy and you know, it's me, so I'm sure they're like, I don't have any questions for this weird
No, it's not
lady.
you. I just started, so it doesn't. I don't really have a whole lot of momentum picked up yet. And yeah, I mean, I think I got like with Nolan, I got 2 entries for him. Kiko sent one
Yeah, that
in.
blows my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't see that too. I would have sent in something for Nolan.
Yeah, I put that on the Iska page. I put that on my Famous When I'm Dead Facebook.
I just started following the Famous When I'm Dead, so I missed that, and then I'm not in the Iska.
Yeah, it'll take some time before like everyone starts to follow and like people get the notifications. But every week, keep an eye on my King Davis art page on Facebook, and I put that up. I put like notifications up there also. So for everyone listening, that's how you get in on it. Okay, happy comic
Hell
booking.
yeah.
I'll let you go
Thank
now.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think I have like 2% left on my phone too.
Okay,
so
perfect.
This worked out perfectly.
Okay. Bye,
All right,
Kelly.
have a wonderful evening. Tell Kate I said what's up.
I will. And we'll talk soon.
Okay, peace.
Bye.